People get recruited into an opportunity, but they stay because of the environment. They get recruited to an opportunity, but they stay because of the culture. And so as a leader, you always got to be thinking, how do I create Today, I want to talk to you about thinking like a CEO. What does a CEO think about? What are their goals? What are their objectives? What are some of the things that they are hyper focused on day in and day out when it comes to building a successful company? And so I want to go over 7 points with you today that I really do believe will make a difference when it comes to growing and scaling and the success of your business. And so the first point is infrastructure. I want you to write that down. If you're driving, type it in your phone or maybe not, whatever you want to do. But regardless, number one is infrastructure. Do you have a solid infrastructure when it comes to employees and staff to either create the volume that you want to have and or handle the current volume that you have? See, oftentimes when you see a CEO hiring people for their company, they hire people to manage their current volume, but what they are not doing is hiring people to scale their volume. And what a successful CEO does is they hire people based off where they want to go. They don't hire people based off where they are at. And so I want to encourage you to identify what infrastructure do you need to have, right? What staff do you need to have in place? What employees do you need to have in place to not only get done what needs to get done, but to also scale the company itself? And are you bringing in A players? You know, throughout the years, I've had a variety of different people that have worked for me. And one thing that I realize is that A players create A profits. What do I mean by that? Meaning that if I want to get an A grade in my profits, meaning my grades are always great, my profits always great, then I need to hire A players for the job. When you're hiring your cousin because you're trying to be cheap, or your little sister or your brother, or sometimes even a VA, even though a lot of times VAs can be great when it comes to doing a lot of the busy work, when you're hiring the wrong people, you don't scale the company. These people can actually lead to problems in your organization. If you think hiring somebody good is expensive, try the opportunity cost of hiring someone bad. Let me say that one more time. If you think hiring someone good is expensive, try the opportunity cost of hiring someone bad, somebody that doesn't do a good job, and somebody who is wrong for the job. So I just want to encourage you, think infrastructure. Do I have the right people in place to handle not only the volume that I have right now, but the volume we are trying to create? I like to look at it like a sports team. Okay, where you need someone that specializes. You need somebody that specializes. You don't want to have a whole bunch of employees that do 15 different things at once. You want to have employees that specialize in different things, where all their time, all their energy, all their focus goes into obsessing over that one thing, improving it, and scaling it. Think about it like a sports team. Let's say you look at a soccer team. Okay. A soccer team has different positions. You have a striker, you have midfielders, you have left wing, right wing, you have defenders, sweepers, goalie. You have different players on the field. Every player has an objective. Every player has a goal. Every player has something that they need to do in order for the team to be successful. What happens if the goalie doesn't block the ball from going in the goal? The team loses. What happens if the striker doesn't put the ball in the back of the net? The team either ties or the team loses. What happens if the defender doesn't do what they need to do? A player can get by them and end up scoring on a keeper because there's only so much a keeper can do by themselves. You need every player operating with precision in order for the team to thrive, in order for the team to win. Well, it's the same thing in business. If it's just you, the lonely only, trying to build a business, you're going to have a really hard time because you don't have the right people in place to get the W and get the job done. So if you want to think like a CEO, you got to think infrastructure. What employees do I need to have in place? What staff do I need to have in place? Not just to manage our current volume, but to get us to the volume that we want to have. Number two, volume, volume, volume. So I know we just talked about the infrastructure of staff to handle volume, but what's extremely important is the volume itself. A CEO is always thinking, how do I get more people through the door? How do I get more people in front of the information? How do I get more people to see our product? How do I get more people to see our business? How do I get more people to see our company? How do I get more people to know about us? Because the more people that know about us, know about our products, know about our services, the higher the likelihood that somebody's going to buy. So the question I have for you is, what is your strategy to create volume? If you were in some type of recruiting model, whether it's financial services or maybe a multi-level marketing company out there or solar, whatever it is, what is your strategy to keep recruiting volume high. If you are maybe in direct marketing or maybe you own a retail store, what is your strategy to get more people to come through the door? What is your strategy to get more people to look at the product, look at your company? CEOs are always thinking in volume. And if you want to scale your company, you need to have a strategy and you need to have a philosophy behind not only creating that volume, but keeping that volume high. Great CEOs are always thinking in volume. The true identity of an entrepreneur is measured by their volume. And so the greater the volume, the greater the mindset of the entrepreneur and or the CEO that's leading that company. Number 3, tight systems. Tight systems, tight systems, tight systems. System stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. And so if you're going to bring all this volume in, you need to have a tight system that can handle that volume and turn it into more volume. In my opinion, volume goes into a system should produce more volume. Volume goes into a system, the system produces more volume. And a system that does not produce more volume, in my opinion, is a failing system. So it's very important that you create not only the infrastructure from a staffing perspective, but the infrastructure from a system perspective that allows the speed of execution to increase. I want you to write this down. I need to increase the speed of execution. I need to increase the speed of execution. The only way to do that is to remove thinking, have systems and have SOPs in place that remove the thought of what do I need to do next? That remove the thought of what do I need to do? What do I need to say? So when it comes to our business, a great CEO is thinking to themselves, what systems do I need to have in place? What scripts do I need to have in place? What SOPs do I need to have in place? So at any given moment, every person that's within my company knows exactly what to do and when to do it, how to do it, what to say and when to say it. And if your people do not know that at any given point, they're going to slow down. They're going to slow down. Someone who is unclear about what to do next slows down. Somebody who is unclear about what to say or how to even do something slows down. You need to remove thinking in order to accelerate performance. We need to constantly be thinking to ourselves, how do I increase the speed of execution? And the only way to do that is to have SOPs, step-by-steps, and systems in place that handle the volume, filter that volume, turn that volume into more volume, and organize it so that way everybody can operate and execute with peace. Number 4, you need to track your metrics and know how to improve your metrics. Do you think that Jeff Bezos knows the metrics and the ratios of Amazon? Of course. Do you think Elon Musk knows the metrics and the ratios of Tesla? Of course he does. Every great CEO knows the metrics of their company. In fact, a CEO that doesn't know their metrics should be fired. A CEO that doesn't know their ratios should be fired. Somebody who doesn't know their business and know how to fix the things going wrong in their business is not somebody who should be leading that business. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you know your metrics and do you know your ratios? Do you know how to improve those metrics and do you know how to improve those ratios? And if the answer to that question is no, you probably should not be in the role of a CEO and or we need to adjust our strategy so we step into it. And then last but not least, are we aggressively working on fixing those metrics and ratios? So am I paying attention to them? Am I tracking them? And do I know what they are? Do I know how to fix them? And then am I being aggressive about fixing them? Am I actually putting in the work to fix them? Am I putting things in place to fix them? Great CEOs are always trying to get better output for the input. But if you don't even know what the input is and or the metrics along the way, you don't even know if you're doing good or bad. You're just kind of moving through the motions. And that is not a recipe for winning. And that's not a strategy in order to succeed. Number 5, a CEO is responsible for creating a sticky culture. I went out to dinner the other night with one of the top CEOs in the world, actually. They are a Forbes ranked top CEO in the world. And I asked him, I said, as a CEO, what is the number one thing that you pay attention to? And what do you believe the number one thing that you are responsible for? And his number one answer was culture. He said, my number one job as a CEO is to create a strong culture because culture can eat strategy when strategy does not have culture. Culture is so important when it comes to stickiness. Culture is so important when it comes to setting the standard. Culture is so important when it comes to operating with certain morals, values, and ethics. A culture raises people for you, and a culture is what really people want to be a part of. People get recruited into an opportunity, but they stay because of the environment. They get recruited to an opportunity, but they stay because of the culture. And so as a leader, you always got to be thinking, how do I create a sticky culture that people want to be a part of? And so I just want to read you some questions, in my opinion, that you should be asking yourself all the time when it comes to your culture. First question you should ask yourself, are my people having fun? Are my people having fun? Are they enjoying themselves? Do they like this? Or are they miserable being here? If so, that's going to affect your culture, because if somebody doesn't want to be there, they're going to affect your culture in a negative way. Another question you should ask yourself is, do my people feel like they're making a difference? Do my people feel like they're making a difference? Or do they feel like they're just working, just going through the motions? Forbes did a study where 98% of people feel like they lack purpose and they lack fulfillment. Why? Because they don't feel like they're making a difference. So if 98% of people are seeking purpose and seeking fulfillment, that means that if your company can provide that, people are going to want to be a part of your company. The third question I would ask myself, do my people feel like they're on a winning team? Do my people feel like they're a part of a winning team? Do my people feel like they're a part of a winning company? Do my people feel like a winner being a part of our organization? Nobody wants to be a part of a losing team. Everybody wants to be a part of a winning team. So do you have the environment and the atmosphere that people feel that they are a winner being on the team? It's one thing to be on a team. It's another thing to feel like a winner being on that team because the team is winning. So as a CEO, you always got to be shaping that as part of your culture where people feel like they're actually winning. Next question I would ask myself, do spouses feel welcome? Do spouses feel welcome? If a strong business comes from a strong home, then it's very, very important to make sure that the spouse feels welcome, because the more welcome a spouse feels into your business, the more they will encourage their spouse to be in business. And if you are building any type of sales team or sales environment, sales is longer hours, it's earlier mornings, it's later nights. Entrepreneurship is weekends and weekdays and weeknights and early mornings. There's so much that's involved in it that if a spouse does not feel welcome and they feel left out, what's going to happen is they might influence the agent to leave the business. They might influence your employee out of the business because they don't feel welcome to being in the business. So if you want to create a sticky environment, one of the best ways to do it is create an environment where spouses feel included, spouses feel welcome, and spouses want to be there. Next question I would ask yourself, do people feel like they're getting better, right? Tony Robbins says that happiness is progress and progress is happiness. And so people will become unhappy working with your company if they don't feel like they're progressing within the company. And so do you have a promotion structure that gives people the ability to get promoted? Do you have a structure that encourages people to develop, encourages people to grow, encourages people to progress? Because if not, people are going to become unhappy with your company because they don't feel like they're getting better. Do people feel like they're learning every single day? Do people feel like they're being taught, they're being provided the resources to get better in business and or in life? And if the answer to that question is no, it's going to hurt your business. And the last question I would ask yourself is, are our people happy? Are our people happy? Meaning that, are they happy being in the environment? Happiness, in my opinion, is the greatest emotion that you can feel. Happiness and gratitude. And so if people are not grateful to be in your environment, and if they're not happy to be in your environment, they're going to most likely go try to find an environment that fulfills that emotion that they're looking for. So you got to ask yourself, when people leave your environment, do they leave feeling happier? When people end the day working for your company, do people feel happier ending that day? Meaning they just felt happy about what they did. They were happy about the work they put in. They're happy about their growth. They're happy about the people that they get to work with. Do they just feel happy being in the environment? And so I would ask yourself those questions, do an audit of your business, and really genuinely look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, is my culture as sticky as it should be? And if the answer to that question is no, let's go put in the work to improve it. Number 6, you need to identify threats and potential problems as a CEO. Great CEOs see around the corner, because everything's great when everything's great, but everything's not great when things go wrong. And it's your ability to anticipate what could go wrong and put preventative measures in place, proactive measures in place that keep those things from happening. Because when things go wrong, momentum gets hurt, culture gets hurt, sales gets hurt, everything gets hurt. So as a CEO, you got to always anticipate what could go wrong. You got to think, what are the threats that could kill my culture, that could kill my environment, that could kill my business, that can kill sales? What are the threats? And if I can remove those threats, plan for those threats, and or proactively move those threats, I can keep people focused on the right things, which is growing, scaling, helping people, if that's the type of business you're in, and that's what you want people to be focused on. So as a CEO, you always got to think around the corner. What could go wrong? What preventative measures can I put in place? What could go wrong? What preventative measures can I put in place? Because everything's good when everything's good until it's not. And you got to plan for when things are not to keep it from happening. And then last but not least, number 7, if you want to thrive as a CEO, you need to know that the quality of your leadership matters. The quality of your leadership matters. Here's the deal. A big part of leadership is creating a unified culture. Extremely important. Extremely important to create a unified culture. But a strong culture where nothing gets done is a failing culture. As a leader, you have a responsibility not just to create unity, but to manufacture results. Let me say it again. As a leader, you don't just have a responsibility to create unity, but you have a responsibility to manufacture results and drive performance. And so I want to ask you, how good are you at inspiring people to take action? How good are you at inspiring people to go do what they need to do? How good are you at holding people accountable? How good are you at transferring pressure onto people so that way they get a job done? How good are you at correcting things that need to be corrected? The quality of your leadership matters. And yes, part of being a great leader is inspiring action and casting a big vision and creating a strong culture. We talked about that already, and it's extremely important. But a big part of leadership is tough conversations. A big part of leadership is holding people accountable. A big part of leadership is transferring pressure, manufacturing results, driving performance, and doing it in a positive way where people do not feel threatened, but people feel encouraged and feel like they want to go put in work necessary in order to make it happen. And so I want to challenge you to really work on your leadership because the quality of your leadership matters. Are you inspiring action? Are you holding people accountable? Are you driving performance? Are you manufacturing results? And if the answer to that question is no, then you got to either improve your leadership and or step down in leadership and or you're just going to continue to get the same results that you've been getting. So these are 7 things that a CEO thinks about, and I'm sure there's more, but these are just 7 things that I wanted to put on paper for you so that way you could improve as the CEO of your company, of your sales team, and or of whatever you are leading, whether that's your life, your business, your team. Doesn't matter. Let's all improve as the CEOs of our business. So with that being said, guys, if you got something out of today, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, tell somebody about it. I feel like today could really help a lot of people, especially if they're in the leadership role of a company and or a team. We put out this information for free. All we ask is that if you ever get something out of it, you subscribe, you tell a friend. That's all we ask. So I appreciate you. God bless you. Love you guys. And I'll see you guys next week.